I'm driving, I'm driving. It's a good day to be driving. Okay, first of all, I don't know anyone that calls it the Mario Cuomo Bridge. It's the fucking Tappan Zee Bridge. It will always be the Tappan Zee Bridge. Get the fuck out of here now. Thank you. I'm driving in a Ford Mustang, which is a reasonably high performance car. I'm on the Garden State Parkway, and it's a reasonably beautiful day outside, and it makes me think about the history of the roads around here, and kind of makes me really angry to think about how we still haven't built half of the roads that we were supposed to have built, and in some parts of the country we're just sitting in traffic for no fucking reason. I know that's certainly true in California, I know it's true here, and it's bullshit because people are lying to you. There's this big misconception, and you'll hear it in every news story or documentary about highways or traffic, that if you build more capacity, if you build more highways, there's going to be more traffic. And that's always happened before, and the reason why is because we're still not at enough capacity to handle the people that need to drive. I mean, this doesn't go on forever. There's only a finite number of people in the country that can drive. There's only so many cars, and only a subset of them are driving at any one time, and only a subset of them are driving, you know, along the same corridor. There is a limit to how bad traffic will get, and trying to use traffic as a reason to leave it the way it is just complete fucking bullshit. So every time I buy toilet paper, we use all the toilet paper. So instead of buying toilet paper, maybe I should just not buy toilet paper, and that'll incentivize people to find alternate modes of wiping their ass. Congestion is horrible. It's horrible for the environment. It's a big mental burden on you. It's horrible for the environment. It's bad for your car. It's bad for the road. And we knew this was happening. The engineers saw this decades ago in the 60s, and we just didn't build all the roads. And we had this big wave of social backlash because the highways that they were building in the 50s and 60s were dividing neighborhoods and fucking up, you know, society. And that's true, they were, but this isn't the 50s and 60s, and we can build roads that don't do that, and we can build tunnels, and oh my god, check out Elon Musk's company that he set up specifically to make vehicular tunnels to alleviate traffic. He's got some crazy fucking ideas, but I'm on his side on this one. And things can be built so much more efficiently these days. If there was a company that was like the Amazon of road building, that provided transportation department as a service to states and other jurisdictions, so much money and time gets wasted in bureaucracy. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen roads built by you, but outside of like maybe Texas, you know, certainly around here, you know, it takes them like 10-15 years to build like a ramp, like, or to move a ramp, or to like widen a road. Like, this shit used to be done in months back in the 50s and 60s with crap technology. I mean, this is not impossible. And you don't just have to add capacity by widening roads. There are ways to build alternate routes and just put in missing exits. You could reduce congestion by a huge percentage just by putting in some missing exits and some connector roads that act as like pressure relief valves. You need more micro exits, smaller exits that don't go to specific destinations, but they serve local people that otherwise have to drive miles to get on the highway that goes by their house, and they serve to act as like pressure relief valves when the highway is so congested that it just spirals into a parking lot. I'm gonna go a different way. This is ridiculous. And this stuff doesn't have to be taxpayer funded. There are so many ways to make huge amounts of profit from maintaining roads. You know those new variable message signs that are like LED and they look exactly like normal signs, but you know, they're electronic? Well, Those blue signs on the side of the road that tell you, you know, that there's a McDonald's at the next exit, those could totally be electronic, and they could totally update in real time based on what restaurants and businesses were open. Restaurants and businesses could pay for that service, pay for advertising revenue without having to have billboards and manage that type of thing. The existing signage we have today is enough to create a ridiculous amount of revenue from companies that want you to know that they're there. I mean, imagine the click-through rates on that shit. The amount of drivers passing by. If that was like an ad on YouTube, like in an hour you would have, you know, enough profit to at least pay for the sign. And when you control the road network, you have a monopoly on contiguous land. I mean, imagine it. If you were a telecommunications company or a utility company and you wanted to run some type of line or circuit or pipe, you know, you're doing one of two things. You're either somehow managing to buy a ridiculously long contiguous piece of land with nothing in between so that you can build your utility on it, or you're paying, you know, all sorts of people and the government money for an easement so that you can put your utility on their property. But transportation companies have contiguous roads. They have property. They have the ability to put utilities under the road. And roads go everywhere, right? If you need to get anything from point A to point B and you can put something under the road, you never have to create an easement with a private entity. Running things like fiber optics or even like pneumatic tubes, if Amazon ever wanted to deliver shit by a pneumatic tube system or something like that, like putting it under the road in some type of modular, easy to extend method would be so efficient that the cost savings would pay for itself. Imagine if the next time they resurfaced roads near you, they put a small chasm under the road, a small tunnel that they could use to sell multi-tenant utility space to the utility companies and make a lot of money. As the transportation department, you would also use the same tunnel for electrical and drainage and you know, data lines, which would mean that every traffic light and every traffic camera wouldn't need to have its own like cellular line or microwave link or whatever the fuck you're paying for, so that all your smart sensors and electronic signs, all that shit, you know, you're paying for all that to be connected today. You're paying some utility. You're paying for a SIM card in each of those devices, or you're paying for some microwave link, or you're paying for like a plain old telephone line. Imagine if all that was interconnected under the road and the transportation department was making money from that. The prospects of putting dark fiber down there alone is enormous. So don't tell me that the transportation department can't turn a profit from maintaining roads. All of these initiatives could be done with little to no taxpayer input. As long as each one was created as an independent silo, an independent business, you would have so much flexibility. Rumble strips. Rumble strips. Rumble strips. The other thing that pisses me off is when people try to push rail and subway in like Midwestern United States. Rail-based transport makes total sense in a place like Europe or New York or San Francisco or any number of population centers where you have a massive number of people wanting to move along the same corridor. That doesn't work where you have 50 miles of desert between towns. It's not economical, and people wait around all day. Trains are already extremely slow in the US. And I'm all for maintaining and building out trains where it makes sense. But here's something you don't usually think about. When you have a heart attack, or you're being held up at gunpoint, or your house is on fire, those emergency services, unless you live in like a very small, minute fraction of America that is really remote, your emergency services are coming on roads. They're not coming by rail. They're not getting on the subway. They're expecting those roads to be clear and free of congestion. And if you're stuck in a parking lot on I-287 at 9 a.m. in the morning. Well, how the fuck is someone supposed to be saved in an emergency? How the fuck? Bitch just stole my parking spot. And there are so many other modes of public transport that use roads. Roads are not just for luxury cars and people that have money. Roads are for buses and shuttles and Lyft and Uber and the trucks that get you your fucking Amazon Prime shit. When you go on a shopping spree on Amazon Prime on fucking Super Tuesday, Cyber Monday, all that shit comes to you on fucking roads. In this day and age with the internet and e-commerce and direct fulfillment, roads are the only thing that goes directly to your house. You don't have a fucking rail line that's, you know, that like a little trolley is gonna stop in front of your house on like railroad tracks and be like choo 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 like in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Rumble strips, woo! It's not like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood where a little trolley has railroad tracks all the way up to like your living room and it can just like come in and deposit your shit.
But what's to stop a terrorist taking over a train, driving it into, God forbid, the White House?
They can't. There are no tracks.
Well,
there are no tracks to the White House.
Not that we know of.
The perfect ideal would be to create some type of private entity that is a for-profit corporation that is required to adhere to a specific set of obligations set out by the state. So, in other words, they have to fulfill all these, you know, safety and regulatory and fiscal responsibilities, but outside of that, they operate as a, you know, an authority, if you will, a privatized government function. So they can sell utility services and transportation services. They could lease out tenancies in their service areas, and they can, you know, sell advertising and adopt a highway and do all that stuff as a profit so that they can make the cash revenue necessary to invest in the infrastructure and build out the shit that's not here already. I'm not a transportation expert, but I do engineer packet-based networks, and it's kind of the same thing. Cars are just packets on a network with a source and potentially a destination. We had a scandal in New Jersey a couple years back called Bridgegate, where there was a big debate over whether or not the governor used his power to intentionally cause a ridiculous traffic jam in Fort Lee, New Jersey. And apparently what happened was 2 or 3 lanes in the toll booth of the George Washington Bridge were like closed. 2 of them were closed, and it caused the backup. It caused the traffic jam so bad that, you know, people died in ambulances and school had to be canceled, and it was gridlock for hours, and everyone was like, oh, did the governor know about this? Did the governor have anything to do with this? And my question that I'm asking everyone is, how the fuck does closing 2 lanes cause that bad of a catastrophe? It was a disaster. How does closing 2 lanes do that? What if those 2 lanes were closed as a result of a truck fire or something? How has no one re-engineered that approach? And you know what the worst thing is? The absolute most ridiculous thing of all is that the toll plaza doesn't even need to be there anymore. Every other state has moved to toll by mail. So like, the first thing I would do as a transportation director, architect, whatever the fuck, is I would go in there and rip out all of those fucking toll booths and streamline all of those lanes of traffic to reduce that ridiculous choke point and maybe save some more people's lives while they're waiting in ambulances in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Let me know your thoughts about roads and transportation and public transportation and non-public transportation down below. Leave a comment. If you found this shit interesting, subscribe to my channel and ring the what the fuck, what am I gonna call it? When you click subscribe, there's gonna be like a little icon. It looks like a gumdrop. It looks like one of these Dots candies. And you click on that, and that's how you get free candy every month from YouTube. It's right next to the subscribe button. True story. Next time we talk about roads, I'm gonna show you a map from my childhood and a whole bunch of misconceptions that I grew up thinking as a result of bad cartography. Asshole cartography. The map maker is a cunt. The map maker is a cunt.